So today I want to go over some different techniques for creating a landscape picture using watercolors. So this is going to be a color medium. In order to do this, I'm going to need a pencil, sharpener, an eraser. I have my watercolors, a couple different sizes and types of brushes, and a little cup with water to the side. If you don't have any of this stuff at home, let me know and I can try and get it to you, because all of these things I have extras of. So if you need anything like the watercolors or the brushes or the pencils or anything like that, just let me know. So I am working from a picture that I took over by Cobbs Creek Park. It's up on my computer. I'm going to have a little picture of it in the corner eventually, so that you can see what I am trying to copy as I'm working on it. So when we're working on this landscape for our high school portfolios, it's important that we are using a reference. So that means that we are looking at a picture and trying to copy what we see. We're not making this up from our imagination. There are times when we can draw from our imagination, but what the high schools are really looking for is to see how good you are at observing. So I'm observing this picture that I took, and I'm going to start drawing it onto this paper. You can see that I have mine lengthwise. This is called landscape. If I were to turn the paper around and have it like this, it would be called portrait. But for making a landscape, it is going to be best to keep it in landscape orientation. Okay, so the first thing that I want to do is I'm looking at my picture and I'm figuring out where the horizon line is. So the horizon line is a horizontal, so side to side line that's going to separate the ground from the sky. In my picture, I can see that my horizon line is towards the bottom, almost in the middle, but not quite. It's a little bit closer to the bottom. So maybe I'm going to start about here, and I'm just going to draw a loose line all the way across. Depending on what your picture looks like, your horizon line may be in a different spot. So you need to really look at where your horizon line is and draw that line kind of in that area. So that gives me an idea for where my space should be. It is easiest for me, sorry guys, to get started just kind of by quickly sketching in pencil any of the things that I want to include. So there's this little path that goes kind of like this on my picture. I'm not worried about making it perfect. I'm going to use my paints to kind of fix up any of those details. I'm just quickly sketching in some things. I like the way that this garbage can kind of adds a thing, so I'm going to draw a loose shape. It doesn't need to be perfect. I just want to know where it goes, and then I'm going to fix any of that with the paint, and I can also use my eraser. And then there is some tree branches over here that are really important, and they kind of go like that. So I'm going to sketch that in real fast. And then there's the picnic table, which is kind of over here. So I'll do that real quick. Picnic table, it's kind of like that. So I'm just doing it loose and fast. I'm not worried about it because I'm going to be able to refine all of these details with the paints in just a minute. I just want to have my major details kind of in place. Okay, and then there's a pink tree that kind of goes like that. And then there's another tree that's a little bit more loose. And then there's this tree over here. Okay, so you can even see, I may actually want to move the garbage can over. So this is just kind of figuring out where everything is going in my composition. So I'm going to actually move this over because there's a tree, yeah, that kind of, I may even make it come down a little bit more. Okay, and then it's kind of just loose. Okay, so there, it's not beautiful yet. Actually, there's even some pink branches that I may want to include over there. But it gives me an idea of where all of the major things that I want to include are. So now I'm going to start going in with my watercolors. I know that I have made some different watercolor technique videos. I'm going to post them in this assignment so that you can watch them. But as I'm doing this, any specific techniques that I'm using, I will point out and highlight. And I'll quickly just kind of go over. So I'm going to start by painting the grass down here and over here. I think that's a good place for me to get started. It is a bigger area, so I do want to use kind of a bigger brush. I would get started with one of these. I think I'm going to use this one to get started. It's actually kind of small for this space, but I want to make sure that I'm taking my time. So in order to activate the paints, I need to swirl my brush around in the water and then just kind of make sure that it gets wet. So the grass is pretty green. You may also want to have a piece of scratch paper on the side to see what the colors kind of look like. Okay, so that's kind of bright. So in order to change that color a little bit, I may want to mix a little bit of brown into there. And that makes it a little bit darker, a little bit less poppy. I'm going to mix a little bit more green in there. Okay, so the more water that I add to this paint, the lighter the color will be. If I want it to be really dark and really rich, then I want to have more pigment. But remember, your colors shouldn't be super thick. They're called watercolors because it is like painting with water. Okay, so that actually looks like that's a pretty good color. So I'm gonna go in with just a light wash to fill in this area. The cool thing about watercolors is that they are transparent, which means that you can see through them. So that means that as I'm painting, I can layer different colors on top of each other and still see what is underneath. So you can get lots of cool different effects. Okay, I'm gonna fast forward through me just filling in this space. So I think that that's a pretty good base layer that I have set down for the grass. So I'm actually, the next thing that I want to do is go in and start painting the sky and the background trees. So not these ones that I kind of deemed more important. Okay, I'm going to go in and kind of just paint broad, big areas like that with the colors that I kind of see in there. And then after I finish laying down that stuff, I'm going to come in and paint those. So I'm going to paint the sky. It's kind of like a light gray blue color, and then those trees that are in the background kind of over here that are green, I want those to be kind of pale, especially in comparison to when I'm getting ready to paint these guys, so that these front ones really pop out. but I'm going to paint that background in the same way that I painted this foreground. Okay.